What's going on, everybody? Ryan the Mighty Quinn here, Cornerman _MMA. Sorry, there's been a little lull in the videos lately. We're working on some other stuff going on. Got some real exciting news coming up real soon, the next couple of weeks. But let's get right to it. UFC 293 in Australia. Now, wow, I did not have Sean Strickland winning that fight. I thought he was going to run into calf kicks. I thought he was going to get outpointed by Izzy. But then looking back, I did think he was going to give Izzy fits. Honestly, I thought what the score was, he won 4 rounds to 1. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought Izzy was going to throw away one of the first 2 rounds to figure things out and then point going forward. Flip it. That's why they have the fight, right? Absolutely. So Sean Strickland is now the UFC Middleweight Champion of the world. Wow. We'll get into what's coming up forward with that, I feel. But anyway, let's talk about how he did it. So he dropped Izzy in the first round, I believe it was, with some heavy hands. Honestly, his hands looked really heavy last night, as opposed, he's always been fairly heavy-handed, but last night he looked particularly more heavy-handed. Whatever they were doing with his striking camp was right on point. I thought that it was great. But let's talk about his striking for a minute. We always knew that Sean, they talked about his pressure too. We always knew that Sean had a very sneaky jab. He was able to hide behind his jab going forward. Throw away the Alex Pereira fight. Okay. Great pressure, especially for 5 rounds. He's clearly in great shape. But I'm centered around Sean's jab. That opens up his whole game, especially with the striking, obviously with the striking. Now, coming from someone like myself with piss poor striking, I knew I needed to develop a really good jab, not only to engage for my takedowns, but I wanted to hide my lack of striking, my lack of boxing, my lack of kickboxing. And I knew if I could shell behind a good jab and make it effective and accurate, that it would do that and it would slow down overall striking for me. And that's what Sean does. Sean is very good at that. And on top of that, he's able to really now hit after that. I never really got into very good with really jab. Yeah, I would throw some combinations, but I would never really find my angles like Sean does. Obviously, Sean's champion of the world. I was never in the top. I was in the top 20. No, I was never in the top 20. If you go back and watch that fight, the jab opened that. And then with the right hands, how he would take his head off line and really extend there. When you go against somebody who overextends sometimes, even though it's improper striking, it's really difficult to manage. It really takes a lot to adjust to. Why? Because when they're overextended like that, like similar how I said he was hiding behind, those of you watching on video, the audio won't be able to pick this up. But when you're able to hide behind that jab, when you're overextending on that right sometimes, it's almost like you're hiding behind that right hand now with your head offline. And when you're connecting, especially when you're connecting like that, even more so if it lands on the body than the head, whether it's, damage to the head or, striking to the body, it puts your opponent off balance for a second. So they're not going to land any clean strikes in their own right, which is what Izzy needed to do there. Once Sean got in that range, it was going to be really difficult for Izzy to readjust and win those transactions, those transitions, those exchanges. Sorry, the fight was on kind of late for me last night. And then looking back now, if Izzy was going to win his point sparring or his point striking, like I had presumed, he probably would have only been able to land 1 or 2 strikes at a time, where that would get in Sean's range to really make it ugly, which is what happened in certain situations. And Sean would win those exchanges. He would, on the judges' scorecards, he would win the striking exchange via damage or dominance within that realm. Keep in mind the scoring. And that's what we saw. It was really a great performance by Sean. Good for Sean. Now going forward, this doesn't just create fits for high-level strikers like Izzy. If you're going against a good wrestler, like I know Thomas Duplessis, his wrestling has really come along. Other wrestlers in the division, we're not going to talk about Bo Nickel at the time. He'll come up to that. But when you're hiding, when you're shelling behind those punches, it also drops your center of gravity a little bit. So your levels changed, and it's going to allow you to stuff some takedowns. So this doesn't just create fits for high-level strikers, but high-level wrestlers and grapplers as well. Because Sean, who actually has a really serious grappling base, could be down here ready for that, either a big right hand or a sprawl. So this is not just a one-off for Sean Strickland. I think that he's going to develop more going forward. He's going to be even better, as he's shown I know he lost 2 in a row, then he won the one fight, and he's coming forward. I think that Sean's going to really develop more behind that, and we're going to see more of those striking style. I mean, not exactly, but when you think of something like that, winning those inside exchanges, I'm thinking of like a Robbie Lawler who could really brawl in there. Sean's going to be able to do that. Maybe not as quick as Robbie, not as effective as Robbie in his run, but effective enough where he's going to be doing some damage in these fights and winning those striking exchanges. Now, so I know they announced that Dana said he's looking at an immediate rematch with Izzy. I don't really believe that. It's the person. I don't think that's the way to go. Personally, I'm not sure how far back Thomas Duplessis is from his injury. If it's 4 months, 6 months, whatever. I mean, obviously you want your champion fighting within 6 months. But with Izzy, I feel like, yes, he was a dominant champion right before he was dethroned by Alex Pereira. When it comes to this run, he had no title defenses. I think that I personally would like to see new blood in there against the new champion. But what do I know? Like the person said who asked them, that's a Tuesday conversation. That's when they talk about their matchmaking. And maybe they'll rediscuss that. Who knows? We've seen things change on the fly all around. But either way, really exciting fight, really exciting night for mixed martial arts. Opens up a whole lot of possibilities for what's happening next. Please tune in the next. I'm going to do a video later this week. Like I said, I have a big announcement coming up, and really looking forward to things to come in both MMA as well as this channel. Thank you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share.